Hi there. Hey, it's Chris Hamilton here with Sales Tip a Day, www.salestipaday.com. And today I'm talking specifically in this webinar about social selling and using LinkedIn. And this will take roughly, it's about half an hour, maybe just a little over. Um, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a little bit of information on just kind of LinkedIn and why you want to use it. Then I'm going to go into 5 tactics that you can use. And I've actually got a bonus one. Um, I've given this presentation before, and this was one that I didn't forget to put in. I just didn't put in, but I decided to put in now. So what I'll do is I'll start going through this about half an hour, and when you come out the back end of this, you've got 5 tactics that you can potentially leverage, or 6 tactics you can potentially leverage to increase your sales or get in front of the right people in companies. So, with that said, here's the starting point. So, what is social selling? So, you know what? Here's a couple definitions from HubSpot. What I look at is the second one. It's probably the most succinct one here. It's, social selling is when salespeople use social media to interact directly with their prospects. And what they're talking about is, they could be talking about Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Now, what I'm talking about is LinkedIn. And the reason I say LinkedIn is because, hands down, I think it is the best online tool to use for social selling to get in front of the right people and get your expertise out there. So with that said, we're going right into this. I get asked, like, who uses LinkedIn for sales? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say. If you're not using LinkedIn for sales, you're crazy. And I've come across people that are not on LinkedIn. I try to reach out to salespeople. I try to reach out to, they are not on LinkedIn. Business owners, marketers, stuff like that, people like that, and they're not on LinkedIn. And I scratch my head. I'm like, why are you not on LinkedIn? In most cases, it's because they say, I don't see the value, or I don't know, I wouldn't know how to use it, right? So, one, if you don't see the value, it's because, well, you haven't tried it to see what happens. And two, I don't know how to use it. Well, I mean, that's like anything. A lot of programs online, anything in life. There's a lot of times you don't know how to use it, but you got to dive in and just figure out how to use it, and it will be absolutely beneficial for you. So, here's something on buyer profiles that I found. This came straight from LinkedIn, some multiple white papers that LinkedIn has. And the next slide, the same thing. The there's a lot on this slide, but I'm going to highlight a few points here. So the first couple of lines are, 49% of buyers research vendors through LinkedIn profiles, and 50% avoid sales professionals with incomplete profiles, i.e., no picture, no information, not enough on their profile, so on and so forth. It's one of the big things I get here is people are looking, they're going online, and they're going to try to find you with an incomplete profile, and you're not, or if you have an incomplete profile, you will not get found. Interesting fact: business to business buyers complete 57% of their buying decision before they are even willing to talk to a sales rep. This is also similar to some information from Google from the Zero Moment of Truth. And they talk about the fact that buyers go online and look at 10 pieces or 10 websites before they are even engaging a salesperson. So, LinkedIn's a great way to be able to use. They have blog posts you can put up there. You can put relevant information up there. I'll get into a couple of these later on that shows kind of, here's what I'm interested in, here's what I've written, here's some stuff that I've done. Take a look at this. This is hands down, something that you really need to be taking a look at. And that way you'll put yourself in front of these people when they start looking at contacting salespeople. The average cold call rate is 2.5%. You know what? I do a webinar on how to stop cold calling. Pardon me. And in fact, I've seen a report from Baylor University that shows that the average cold call appointment rate is less than 1%. So obviously you want to start using social selling as opposed to cold calling. What I do talk about with cold calling is the fact that if it's between 1% and 2.5%, it doesn't matter. You're flip it around and say, I'm wasting my time between 97.5 to 99% of the time when I'm making cold calls. What an absolute utter waste of your time. I refuse to cold call. I actually predominantly use LinkedIn to reach out to people. And I'll bet you in the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, I've picked up the phone about 5 times to reach out to someone cold, but it was more because of an opportunity that presented itself and I had to get in front of them right away. Here's the other thing you need to look at is a warm referral increases your odds of sales success by 2.5 to 4.5 times. So put yourself in the shoes of someone that has, I'm at 100% of plan. Well, if I could leverage a referral mechanism to get in front of people, you know what? I'm going to double or quadruple my sales, and that puts more money in my jeans. The reason I bring this up is LinkedIn is a phenomenal electronic online referral machine for you, and I'll show you more in later on how to get referrals. And also, 84% of business to business decision makers begin their buying process with a referral. So think of it this way: is a vast majority of people are looking to get a solution. They're going out to people and saying, hey, like, can you recommend someone who does this? Can you recommend someone who does that? If you have a complete LinkedIn profile, you're sharing content, you're putting your own original content up, and a bunch of other things, and connecting with people on a consistent basis, people are going to know what you're doing. So ultimately, they're going to say, hey, you know what? My buddy does this that you're looking for. I'd like to connect you to him. So that's just food for thought on the buyer profiles. On the social selling statistics, once again, these are straight from LinkedIn, from several white papers that I combed through. But I'll just go over a few of them. Top social sellers, they literally have 45% more opportunities per quarter, and also are 51% more likely to make quota. And that just goes to say that if I'm putting more opportunities in the pipeline, I have more opportunities to close on, which means I'm going to move myself closer to quota or even exceeding quota. And the reps that focus on new business who exceed quota, they make 140, almost 150% more connection requests on a monthly basis than other sales reps. So I'm going to talk about connections and how to get connections, and how to grow your network. The other one is sellers who reach out to prospects with relevant insights. So if you think about LinkedIn, you send an email out to someone who's not in your network. It's not an email per se, it's called an in-mail. If you send an in-mail that simply says, hey, I've got a great program that I think would be perfect for you, let's get together and talk, versus someone who says, hey, I found your profile online. I've got this white paper that I wrote that shows you 10 things that you can implement very fast and effectively that will double, triple your sales. This is hypothetical, obviously, but double, triple your sales in your organization, and it can be done in the next 90 days. I'd love to share it with you. Here's a link to it. And if I'd like to get together with you at some point in time in the near future and discuss this a little further, as I've got other ideas that I think might be relevant. You compare those two, guess what? You're going to get more people being able to respond to you with the second one. And in this case, they show that it's like nearly 5 times more likely that you get a response rate. The other one too is, basically 73% of salespeople using social selling as part of their process outperform their peers and exceed their quota by 23% more often. So the one key takeaway I want you to look at with this, between the the buyers, the sellers, and the social selling side of things, is social selling isn't something that you need to think about for the future. It's here and now. There's so many people starting to use it. You could be on the cusp of moving way ahead of the curve against your competitors. And I would highly recommend you really start leveraging not only just LinkedIn, but Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything that gives you that competitive advantage. Creating YouTube videos, sharing stuff on SlideShare, so on and so forth. You really need to look at it. It is the here and now. So I'm going to go through some LinkedIn stats. So registered users, over 347 million. In fact, actually, it was a couple of months ago. They add 200,000 subscribers a day, I believe is what it is. So that number is actually, when I first created this, it's far higher than that. It's closer to 350 million plus now, as of almost July 1st, 2015. 40% of users check LinkedIn daily on stuff. If you have a photo on your profile, your profile will be viewed 11 times more than if you don't have a photo. And also, if you list your skills, you're going to get 13 times more views than if you don't list your skills. So those are 2 key takeaway points you really should take a look at: is completing your profile. The other thing too is when you look at millennials. So I'm gonna, in this case, I'm gonna say let's discount kids, below 20. Let's say college age, university age, graduation, 2022 to 35. Only 13% of millennials are on LinkedIn. And I guess if I were in that age bracket, I would look at the fact of saying, You know what? Like, what is it? 87% of my competitors who I go up against are not on LinkedIn. And I'll bet you a vast majority of decision makers in companies are on LinkedIn. Those odds are totally stacked in your favor. So I would take a look at that, and I would use that to my benefit. If only I was under 35, that would be well. That's not the only thing I'd want to be under 35. Reason being, but it's a great statistic that works in your favor. 41% of all millionaires are on LinkedIn. The reason I put that on there is, when you look at the general population, I think it's less than 1-2%. I don't know what it is, but it's not very high. Yet 41% of all millionaires are using LinkedIn. I mean, it's a dramatic increase. So I mean, that is, um, millionaires typically probably have money, business owners, so on and so forth, and they can make the decisions. So good place to be. And because I'm Canadian, I always throw this stuff up. 76% of Canadian LinkedIn users go out on a monthly basis. So I'm going to go through my top 12 or top 11 tips for LinkedIn. As I say, I got a whole bunch more, but I can only fit 11 on the slide, so I put them on. First thing is join LinkedIn. Like I say, there are tons of people that I've seen out there that aren't even on LinkedIn, or if they are, they've only got a handful of connections, no complete profile, no picture, anything like that. You know, one of those things, you just got to get on LinkedIn and start leveraging it and using it. Dive in. There is so much information available online. The other thing too is if you need help, I can do some coaching on that. Feel free to reach out to me, chris@salestipaday.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you, coach you, train you, whatever it is that you need to get done. Secondly, as I say, complete your profile. Best thing you can do, get that picture, get your skills in there, put some keywords in. So think about what it is that you want people to find you on. If it's new home sales, you could put new home sales in Calgary or whatever geographical area you're in. I handle new home sales in Calgary, so on and so forth. The reason why you want to do that is because people will find you based on the keywords that you have in your tagline and also in your profile. And that's how LinkedIn finds and kind of displays who you are to these people. So think about how you'd want to get found by one of your ideal clients. The other one is give recommendations and get recommendations. So this one is when you go online, you're going to see people have their jobs listed, and there'll be a recommendation underneath that. And here's a great way to, recommendations provide social proof to individuals, so they're more than willing to reach out to you if they don't know who you are. So a trick or a tip here is, if you reach out to someone and you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you a recommendation. This is what it is, and you can make it cookie cutter. And if I would appreciate if you would reciprocate. Here is a blurb that you can use to recommend me for this job here. And so what happens is you're giving, you're getting, and it's mutually beneficial for both sides. So and then once you build up recommendations, people see that you know what you're doing, how you work, what it is, and it's just it just works all the way around for you and gives social proof that you know what you're doing. The other one too is endorse others. I'm not going to get into that because it's one of the tips that I do a little bit more in depth on in the 5 that I've got here. Join relevant groups, same thing. I'm not going to go into that because I'll talk to that in a couple of minutes here. Share information, relevant information. I'm going to show you a little bit more on that as well. Here's kind of the next 3 points are stuff that you should really think about. So you're only as good as your network. I'll start with that. So what you need to do is you need to be connecting with everyone you meet. You go to a meeting, connect with them on LinkedIn. You're going out with friends to a bar, there's someone new, going out for dinner with people, whatever it is, find out who they are, connect with them on LinkedIn. You never know what can come from that, and you grow your network. And as you grow your network exponentially, it's not who you know, it's who they know that they can put you in front of and help you. And it's just, there's a huge multiplier effect against that. You know what? Connect with past acquaintances. Think about who you went to school with. Think about who, junior high, high school, elementary, university, blah, blah, all that stuff. Think of who you used to hang out with and see if you can connect with them, family, friends, anything like that. And then last but not least is in LinkedIn, people will look at your profile. If you're not connected with them, you can always reach out to them and say, hey, I see you looked at my profile. I'd love to connect with you. Is there anything I can help you with, or do you have any questions? And then click, connect. Whatever you do, don't use the lame-o default, which is I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn or whatever it is. It shows no relevance whatsoever. Put a little bit of information and relevance in so they know why you want to connect. The other one too is follow companies. So this is the reason why I say follow companies is think about the target companies that you're going after. And some of them may be active on LinkedIn, putting information up on a consistent basis. And when companies are putting information up, promoting themselves or talking about themselves, you start to understand what is important to them. And if you can determine what is important to them, then you can start matching your product or service against that and see how it would fit in and how you can help that company. So what you do when you go to the search bar at the top of LinkedIn, on the left-hand side, there's a drop-down menu. You click on it. It drops down. You put companies, and you can search for the company that you want in there. And then what you do is you click on it, and then there's, they'll have their own page, more than likely, if they're, even if they're small, but if they're a substantial size, they'll have a page, and you can click on that to follow those guys, and then you can see what's going on there. And last but not least, give and get referrals. Hands down, LinkedIn is phenomenal for getting referrals, but also helping give referrals. It's a quid pro quo. It goes both ways, right? So, when you reach out to people and you say, I'd like to connect with someone, and I'll show you this in a couple of seconds here. Think of it this way: it's an electronic referral that's happening, and we had the stat earlier, which is 2 to 4 times greater sales success if you're using a warm introduction, i.e., a referral. And I'll tell you what, this one thing I use it predominantly. That's why I don't make cold calls. I have not made cold calls in ages. This is the one that gets me in the door in front of so many people. I'll give you a stat in a little bit here that'll just blow your mind on how well this actually works. But as I said, it's quid pro quo. If you ask for a referral, you should give a referral. 3 things I always say to people when it comes to referrals is, feel free. Well, first of all, feel free to reach out to me and see if I can connect you. But one is, I'm going to tell you, either I don't know the person, I can't give you a referral because there's no relationship there. 2, I know them, but not well enough to give a referral. Or 3, it's going to be, yes, I know them. Tell me what the heck you want, and I will get you in front of that person or reach out to that person for you if it makes sense. So first trick I'm going to tell you, or a tip, I'm not going to call it a trick, I'll call it a tip, right, is setting up Google Alerts in your profile. So what you do is when you go to the top bar, and it's up top there, you see search for people, jobs, companies, and more. What you do is click on the advanced button up there, and this screen pops up. And then what you want to do is you want to start filling in the information on this page. So down the left-hand side, what I look at is I've got a controller. I want someone with a title that's controller. I want them located in or near Calgary. So I use the postal code in Calgary to find that person. And then what I do is I want to see someone who's in the oil and gas sector. I may want everyone, so I can keep that blank. I may only want people in certain geographical areas. I may only want someone who I'm connected to in the first or second. In this case, I keep it pretty wide open. And then what you do is you click search. And what happens is these results pull up. So in Calgary, in the oil and gas sector, there are 740 people that have a current title of controller. And so if I sell to controllers in companies, this is, that's how I want to find these guys. Now, here is the kicker and the secret on this one, which is phenomenal. I mean, that's good in its own, but, I got the 740 results. Click in the upper right-hand corner, it says Save Search. And when you click on that, it takes you to the ability to save a search based on a certain parameters, under that parameters. So, in that case, I was using controllers, but I'm going to show you right now. Here's what I've set up is, I've set up one for Vice Presidents Marketing, Owners, VPs of Sale, and I've set the alert to come to me weekly, but you can set them up, I believe, daily and weekly at least, and if not, I think you can also do monthly. And what this does is it takes a look for anybody that's in that safe search that has changed something on their profile since you last received an update. And in this case, it was weekly. So if you look at Vice President's Marketing, 75 new people changed their profile. So if I click on that 75, it will bring that list up. And I can start going through and looking at these people and say, is there anyone here that I want to reach out to or connect with or have someone refer me into? And the reason why you want to do this is, oh, by the way, and you save these under each one, is that within the first 3 months, if someone is in a new position, they are literally 10 times more likely to make a product or service change. So they are willing to get rid of your competitor and try you or start looking at you to make the change. And the reason being is because they're new in the job, they want to make impact, and this is how they do it. Now, I've got to give a shout out to Craig Elias for coming up with this or bringing this to my attention. He's been doing this for years, and this is how, part of the premise of his book, Shift Selling. But it is a phenomenal way to dramatically increase the likelihood of you getting a sale. And in this case, I say, by the way, it's delivered to your inbox weekly. I actually have changed this now since I've done this, and I get these delivered daily to me, depending on the level of account that you're using. I use Sales Navigator, which is another service from LinkedIn, and I also use LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I'm using just their free account. Sales Navigator, I'm like a massive premium account, and I love it. But we aren't going into that information here. But in this case, I can only save 3. I think if you've got a half decent premium account, you get 7 or 10 of these that you can save. This hands down is a phenomenal way to get people that are interested in change in their organization and interested in your service at that point in time. Next one, referrals. I think, like I say, hands down, LinkedIn as a referral network is just phenomenal. And to show you this is, let's just say, I wanted to reach out to the controller at AltaGas, which is Paul here. When I go on, I can see that I'm actually connected with him 7 ways through 7 different people. And when I click on that, it'll show me who those 7 people are and how I can reach out to him. Now, the other thing too is when I'm on Paul's profile, if I go down the right-hand side, it says, here's 3 of the ways that you can connect with Paul, and you have 4 more connections. Get introduced. So when I click on, so there you see the 3. When I click on Get Introduced, it brings up a email or an in-mail that I can send to one of my connections to ask me to introduce me to Paul. So what it does is when I click on Choose a Shared Connection, it brings up all these people. And I can say, okay, well, who do I know best here to get me in the door to introduce me to Paul? So, I may reach out to my buddy Jeffrey Kahn or Greg Lake and just say, hey, can you introduce me to Paul? Here's the reason being. I've got a product or service that I think would work for them. But when you do that, here's a tip, is create a blurb that you can say, you can copy and paste this and send this to Paul so you don't have to think about doing anything. I'm going to make it so easy for you to send something to Paul to introduce me. So at that point in time, you've got that. So reason why you want to do this. So this is going to blow the socks off you. So 90% of executives never respond or buy from a cold call or an unsolicited email. Those are just stats that, once again, I found all these stats sifting through a bunch of white papers that LinkedIn put out. Yet, through LinkedIn, 80%, more than 80% engage when they are referred by a connection, a friend, a colleague, a customer, or a peer. So think about it. You have, if you just reach out cold or unsolicited email or anything like that, you have less than a 10% chance of really connecting with any of these people or getting anything going. When you involve a referral or a connection in, you are getting a more than 80% chance that you are going to at least connect with that person or get in front of that person to potentially tell your story. Talk about dramatically increasing your sales success. So hands down, this is, just for LinkedIn alone, this is one of the most powerful tools in LinkedIn. It is a referral engine, and so few people leverage this or use this. I use it all the time. It is phenomenal how many doors I can open up and get in to see from these people by doing this sort of stuff. The next tip I'm going to talk about is giving endorsements. So when you go to someone's profile, a lot of times you'll see the different skills that they have listed in there. So it says, does Chris Hamilton know anything about CRM, sales, marketing, da da da, so on and so forth. You can say endorse all, or I can endorse some, or something like that. When you go to someone's profile that you know, or want to know, or get to know, or slightly know, my recommendation would be to endorse them for all this stuff. And the reason why you want to endorse them is that in their feed, their notification feed on LinkedIn, it will say, for example, if I go to Oren Clough here, my buddy Oren Clough, and I recommend him for, or endorse him, it's going to say, Chris Hamilton endorsed you for this, right? And Oren may go, oh, that's nice of Chris. Maybe I should get in touch with Chris and thank him or something. Like, it allows you to open the door for things. Now, the other thing too is that when you endorse one person, the other thing that pops up is the box that looks like this. So I've endorsed the guy that I'm looking at on this page, but after I've endorsed him, then I start looking and I see, oh, I've got Oren Clough, I got Dave Eager, I got Rod Neal, I know all these guys. I don't know Alex, so you know what? I'll endorse Oren, I'll endorse Dave, I'll endorse Rod, but unfortunately I won't endorse Alex because I have no idea who Alex is. Really what you do is, grow your endorsements by endorsing others. They'll endorse you. And when people do endorse you, you see them in your feed saying they've endorsed you, here's a tip you can do as well. You can reach out to that person and say, hey, I really appreciate you endorsing me. That takes a lot. Go to their profile, endorse them, obviously. And just say, hey, if there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. I'll give you an example of this. This a girl who works in the health and safety environment world endorsed me the other day online. I thought that was wonderful of her. And I went to her profile and was sending her a message saying, thank you very much for endorsing me. And I realized she was actually in the HSE world. I didn't know that. And so I reached out to her in the same email and said, hey, by the way, is there any way that I could talk to you? And I've never talked to this girl before. But I said, is there any way that I could give you a call and connect with you and ask you a few questions and see if you can help me out? And her response back is, absolutely, give me a call. So, that's just some of the ways that this can help you. The other one is sharing content. So that's tip number 4. So you go online, you're looking at something, you find something you think would be great to share out to your network. One of the things you can do is when you go down to the bottom here, you've got a Facebook feed, a Twitter feed, and and a LinkedIn feed. When you click on those, it'll pop up and say, share this with your list. Yes, whatever. You share it out. It goes in LinkedIn. It goes into your stream, and other people will get to see it. Pardon me. Sorry. And another way you can do this is when you're on there, you can click on, like in this case, I click on Twitter. I've got 2 Google Chrome plugins on Google Chrome. One is from Hootsuite, and they've got this little plugin called Hootlet, and the other one is Buffer. And I'll get into this in a sec as to why this is powerful. Is when I click the little Hootlet button here, it pulls this. It pulls the information from the page that I'm on that I want to share, and then what you see is up in the upper part is I've got different social media accounts in here. So 3 Twitter accounts, 1 Facebook, and one my LinkedIn feed. And what I can do is I can, oops, sorry guys. What I can do is I can hit that auto schedule button. And auto schedule will take these posts and post them out on my different accounts at different times over a 24-hour period. And the other thing I can do, I can send them all at once, or I can schedule them for in a future date and stuff like that. But I just use like 90%, 99% of the time, I'm using the auto schedule button to push content out, and it shows up in my feed in LinkedIn. The other one is this Buffer. So Buffer, what I've done is I've connected Twitter account, Facebook account, LinkedIn account, and my Google Plus account. Any more than that, I have to pay for the service. So this, this service is free up till 4 accounts. Same thing. I just click this little button down here, and it starts to schedule it out throughout the day for me. The reason we want to do this is, there was a stat I had earlier, which is 74% of B2B buyers will abandon a search if the company doesn't have a strong social presence. You're representing your company. You may own your company. It doesn't matter. But if you're representing your company and you're putting out information, and it could be information directly from your company or stuff that's relevant to your industry, you start showing up in people's streams and feeds. You're going to get noticed, and people are going to say, you know what, this guy, I think he gets it, he understands it, why don't I reach out to him? You just increase your odds of getting connected with. The last one I've got here. Oh, by the way, so when it comes to doing this as well, one of the tricks that I've never shared this with anyone, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. So if you go to stumbleupon.com, you can pick different interests that you have, and they have so many. But there's like humor, business, marketing, and finance, so on and so forth. Um, you can select certain things that you want to take a look at. And then what you can do is stumble upon just goes through random pages that have been added to it and displays them for you to take a look at. And that way you don't have to go hunting around the web trying to find content to share out. StumbleUpon will start serving all this stuff to you, and you can start figuring out which ones you want to share out as well. The nice thing about Buffer is Buffer also does the same thing. It just actually finds stuff and says you might want to share this out to your network as well, which is pretty cool. The last one I've got here, and then I have a bonus one, is it's a connected app for your cell phone. And where you see it is this down at the bottom there. I've got it just sitting on the on my iPhone display. When you click on this, it brings up an application. And this application does three things. First thing it does is it shows you anyone that has a birthday and anyone who's got a work anniversary, and then it starts making recommendations as to people you should or could connect to as in there. So what I do is, and it's so fast to use this, every day I jump on at some point in time, whether I'm walking, sitting waiting for a meeting, sitting in front of the TV, whatever it is, I jump on this and I see who's changed a job. And then what it does is it displays and it says you can actually comment on that. And when you press comment, it says, hey, if it's a birthday, it says, happy birthday, Bill. And you can send that off. Or if it's like new job, it says, congratulations, Bill. And you can send that off. It takes me less than a minute to do this right across the board on LinkedIn. Then it starts to pull up, after you've done that, it starts to pull up people that you can connect with. I go through maybe 10, 20 to see if there's anyone there that I want to connect with. If there's no one there, then I don't even bother connecting with them. But, once again, it's a great way to connect with people on a daily basis and remain top of mind. So, this is the last one. We're getting close to the end here. So this is a bonus. This is something that I did not throw in. I've given this presentation a couple of times before, but now I thought I would throw it in because it's super awesome and well worth taken advantage of. So apart from referrals in LinkedIn, one of the other cool things is groups. And pardon me, sorry, I got something in my throat here. When it comes to groups, if you go into LinkedIn, you can join a whole bunch of groups. The reason why I want to do this is sales reps are 70% more likely to get an appointment from a cold connection request if they cite a common LinkedIn group. So basically, if you're reaching out to someone cold and say, hey, we're part of this group, and then put something together, say, hey, I've got some information, I think it'd be great, this will give you 5 ways to do this, here's a link, would love to set up an appointment with you, you increase the likelihood of getting an appointment by 70%. So think about it, anything that you can do to actually get more appointments and increase your likelihood is stacked in your favor. Amazing way to do it. So here's what you do. When you go into LinkedIn, you click on interests, and then there's groups. When you click on groups, you can search groups and find groups that you want to join. And how I do it is I look at what are the different industries I want to be networking with, and then I go through and see kind of where, what are some of the biggest ones, are they active, are they not active, so on and so forth. And literally what it does is it starts to, it'll list groups off for you to join. So what I do is I tell people, if you're actually joining groups, make sure you join 50. You're allowed to only join 50, but I'll tell you what, if you join a whole bunch of groups that have a whole bunch of people in them, and you can join 50 groups, you'll understand why in a second, but your network will grow massively or exponentially, or your ability to reach into people and get in front of people grows tremendously. So with that, when you click on the groups, I clicked on one of the groups, which is the Young Oil and Gas Professionals Calgary, which I'm a member of. And when I go in there, it's going to be a Calgary area. There's almost 8,000 members in this group. And when I click on that, it brings up a page that talks about the different members. And on that page, there's a search button. So what I do is I type in the keyword that I'm trying to find, and then I hit search, and it will bring results up. And in this case, I only show a portion of this just down at the very bottom of the results page, but it brings people up that have safety somewhere in their profile. And in this case, when I hit safety, I mean, there's, I believe there are 10 results per page. It might be 15 per page. But anyways, in this case, if there's 10, I mean, there's 200, there's 25 pages. There's 250 potential people that have the term safety somewhere in their profile. And in most cases, it's going to be in their tagline or their or what they do, their job function there. So what you do is when you get these results is you hit send message. Now, in this case, I'm connected to Vin Jones. He's a first level connection, and he's a buddy out, or he's a guy out of Edmonton. Where this is more powerful is if you got a second or third level connection that you typically will have to go and buy in-mail credits from LinkedIn to be able to reach out to these people with an in-mail. This will allow you to reach out to them without ever having to use an in-mail credit, and it's free to do. So the power is if you got a second level connection and you're trying to send them some information, you can do that. And then what you do is when you hit send mail, it brings up this message box here. And you fill that box out and you send it off to this person. Now, here's what I do, is I have a template. And so the top thing is this of interest, is the subject line. And then I take this information and I put it in there. And, when I look at the person's profile, I also look at the person's profile and say, hey, look, I'm reaching out, I'm working with a company, may have an offer that's applicable to your company. You put the company name in there, and then later on I've got this down here. But long story short, what you do in this is create a template so you don't have to keep retyping all this stuff. Now, I'm going to go back to this again, these results. The other thing you can do is when you click on the person's name and look at their profile and see stuff, if they're a second level connection, you can see who they're connected to and then go back to using a referral to get in as opposed to a cold email, because once again, you increase your odds of getting sales success 2 to 4 times if you're using a warm referral as opposed to sending just a cold in-mail to these individuals. So just food for thought on that one. So last but not least, we're at the very end here. I got an offer I can make for you. Here's the scoop. Reach out to me at chris@salestipaday.com. We're at 403-630-1243. And what I'll do is I've got a friend of mine, Kelsey Kashluba, who can do a review of your profile and help rewrite it. And she will do that for $100. She goes through, she starts to look at the keywords, try to get you found, what you need to get found on, and she will help you get your profile done to get it out the door and get you found better online. So reach out to me on that one. The other one is, if you really want to learn how to do this, you can do a one-on-one with me, or I can train a sales team as a group. Reach out to me, chris@salestipaday.com, or else what you can do is phone me at 403-630-1243, and I'll coach you through, or coach a group through doing this, and show you several other tactics that you can use as well to increase your likelihood of getting sales success through using LinkedIn. There's my contact information. Thank you very much for taking time to take this in. By all means, please feel free to reach out to me at any time should you have questions, or if you want any help with anything. And once again, thank you very much for investing the time today. I hope you found this valuable.